Hey, it's Storyworthy. Today on the show, legendary radio broadcaster Phil Hendrie talks about the new documentary, Hendrie.
When I got this gig in Ventura, and I knew I was doing character voices, and I wanted to introduce different characters in this sort of a radio play every day. But I listened one day to an interview being done by a host on KBC, and he was reading this interview that was done with Saddam Hussein. When he read Saddam Hussein's part, he put a filter on his voice. So he's like, and when did you invade Kuwait? I invaded Kuwait. And I thought, oh, wow, I could be Saddam Hussein and I could interview him. Well, that wouldn't be realistic. I know what I'll do is I'll interview a guy who has sympathy for Saddam Hussein. In fact, I think I'll just come on the air as that guy and say that Phil Hendrie is on vacation, you know. But I want to tell you that Saddam Hussein, a lot of you people have got him all wrong, you know. A good man, you know. And my producer was a guy named Greg Glasser who was in the other studios, a young man, and he looked at me and he's waving his arm and he's saying, we're getting phone calls.
Today on the show, I talk with legendary radio broadcaster Phil Hendrie about his brand new documentary that I'm in called Hendrie. Stay close.
Hi, it's Phil Hendrie, and you're listening to Storyworthy.
Welcome to Storyworthy. My name is Christine Blackburn, and I'm coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Whether you're a longtime fan of the show or a brand new listener, welcome to Storyworthy. I hope you guys enjoyed the show last week with comedian Esther Coup. Esther is a very talented comedian out of Miami, and Esther tells a story about this boyfriend she had in New York. They were going out for like 6 months. And they never had the conversation about are we exclusive or what are we to each other? But they kept going out. They kept having a good time. But she became suspicious and basically broke into his apartment. And while she's in his apartment looking around, some lady is knocking at the door trying to get in because Esther's locked all the doors. The lady is the guy's wife.
Oh, no. Oh, no, man. That's so bad. That's so sick.
It's an unbelievable story and super funny because Esther is so talented and the way she tells it is just too much. So go back, you guys. Listen to Esther Coup last week, but not today. Stay with me now because I'm so excited to have a very good friend of mine and an extremely talented person with me here today. It is radio legend Phil Hendrie. And today we're talking about Phil Hendrie's documentary. It's called Hendrie. Patrick Reynolds is the guy who's produced it. And along with Jordan Brady, I know both those guys. And, it's just so interesting because I know they're both very focused. They know what they're doing. They're professional people. And they're not just picking up any project to do because this is money, obviously. And they know you as the radio personality, like a lot of people do. But how did they come to you and say, Phil, we want to do not only a documentary about you, but a documentary, and here's the narrative that we want to go with? Because it's pretty interesting, because you talk basically about a rise to fame and getting to the place where you are on top of your game. It is your A game. You couldn't do better than you were doing. Yet once it got syndication across the country, people did not get it.
Some people did.
No, of course they did. But you know what I mean? That because selling to advertisers requires, the pitch of the whole idea.
That's right. And Christine, because I've been asked this question. Well, I should answer your question rather than go, thank you. Let me just do whatever I want to do here. No, you asked me what? How did
Jordan? Yeah.
Patrick was the director. Jordan's the producer. And I got a call from them back in 2018, around spring of 2018. They said, we want to make a documentary about you. Pat Reynolds, it was really his idea. And I think he went to Jordan with it. And I said, that's awesome. Of all the movies that could be made about you, I think a documentary is probably the coolest, And me being the kind of guy that I am, and I'm not trying to kiss my own rear end. But I mean, I'm just kind of a purist. And I thought, well, I can't be involved in this creatively at all, because a documentary is a journalistic effort and the subject of it cannot possibly be the producer. It's not going to be objective. Mm-hmm. So I said to them as we had lunch that day, this sounds great. Yeah, let's do it. And I figured if it really sucked, I could just say, this thing's a piece of crap, don't watch it, But I let them go ahead and have their head with it. And that's when Patrick began to interview me. Then I saw the cats that he got. He got Judd Apatow, he got Henry Rollins, he got Wayne Fetterman, he got
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader. I mean, God, Bill is so great. Everybody is great in that. And I'm probably forgetting people. Dana Gould is wonderful.
He's the best.
There's a great list of everybody that's in it. And I thought, well, wow, they really nailed down some good people. And then it began to develop from there. And I just was completely separated from it. I didn't know. I have a godson, Joe Olander, who's in the creative world. He's a kind of a filmmaker himself. He's, that movie they're making about you? I go, yeah. Are they going to get done with that anytime soon?
Yeah.
I go, well, it's been about
pandemic 5 years. Hit.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened. Yeah.
But let me ask you that. But how did the narrative get told? How did Pat and Jordan know ahead of time where it was going?
No, I think they took it from their notes and the interview with me. I told them how the show started with me. I told them where I was in my career when I started the show. I told them the level of frustration I had. Then I was like 38 years old when I finally said, you know what, either I'm going to do this or I'm going to get out of this business and do something else. And I knew I had talent. I knew I had talent for it. So it was just a matter of giving people talk about give yourself permission. It's a big step, man, to just say, I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And of course, I did all this weird crap and immediately got the pushback that I knew I would get, but I also found fans. And this started in little Ventura, California, the first station to hire me. So they took that story that I told them and they fleshed it out from there.
Yeah. Well, then you go through the different stages of your career, your time at Premier Radio. That's when I met you.
Right. Yeah.
And you speak highly of Craig Kitchens, which it's nice when people speak highly of bosses and, program directors. Right, yeah. That's nice. It's good.
Craig did his best for me. I think everybody did. And by the time I got there, Christine, a more sane guy probably would have said, look at this. I got a brand new contract. I got a national syndication gig. I'm going to take this and party. No, what did I do? I went and got married. I got all responsible. I had 4 stepchildren I was going to take care of because I think that's just kind of the way that I was built, now that I have all this good fortune, I'm going to have to do something good with it.
But there's nothing wrong with getting married and having that life. I mean, those kids love you still. I mean, Yeah,
nothing wrong with it, except, it piled a lot of responsibility on my back.
I see.
Doing a show already that it was very, very difficult to do. I'm not criticizing or complaining.
I know.
But it was. I entered into a phase of my life where I was like Mr. Responsible Husband, Dad, doing this. Oh yeah, by the way, this nutty radio show, and that, and then as you said, there was affiliation, there was advertising. I told some people yesterday. I said, look, had I to do it over again, I would have gotten involved in the advertising and in the affiliation like a monster. I would have been on top of people every day. In other words, I would have been part of the business a lot more than I was.
Yeah, interesting.
But I mean, to answer your question, I started out in 1990 at KVEN here in Ventura, just doing these goofy voices and hit upon the idea of being a character, being the host, and then fooling callers into calling and thinking they're talking to a real guy.
Right. Satirizing what talk radio is.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. And then left there and went to Atlanta, expanded it more, went to Minneapolis, expanded even more, went to Miami, which is where I really found my footing because that was a personality talk station. They honored comedy there. They wanted comedy.
Yeah.
That's where I think I got all my irreverence and my I don't care anymore kind of attitude. And then I brought that to KFI, which was, I know I love David Hall and he supported me 1,000,000%. I don't know how ready KFI was for me, because I brought a real weird vibe to that whole.
Well, it was like Dr. Laura was on one station.
Right, man. Yeah.
But Conway was in there. Tim Conway was in there. And
David said to me, are you kidding? I said, well, you're a good program director. Good. I balanced you, Dr. Laura, Rush Limbaugh, You're damn right I'm good, yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Well, I have so many questions, but once you start talking about, some of the bits and the way you start fooling some of the callers, and one of the ones I jotted down that just makes me laugh so hard because you just said it in passing. You were talking about this bit about this guy calls in and he's complaining because this neighbor of his puts a bandana on the cat. And he is saying that is traumatic to the cat. And you say, and I forget which character it was, but you said, when you put a bandana on a cat, it is no good to anyone. The owners that do that are more cruel to that animal than anybody who burns one with a cigarette or throws it out of a truck.
When they put just a bandana around the neck of a cat?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I laughed so hard. And then the people are calling and they're saying, it is none of your business what people do with their own pets.
Oh, he's talking about just putting clothing on cats and dogs. Yeah. That's probably something that I felt. I kind of do feel that putting clothing on animals is kind of abusive because who knows how it feels on them? Do they like it? Do they not? Who knows?
We do it for my cats at Christmas and, just these stupid costumes we have. And the cat looks at you like they want you to be on fire. They hate you. Yeah,
why are you doing this?
They're going to gouge your eyes out.
Right.
Okay, so let's get back real quick to the documentary. You mentioned all those stars that are in it. And basically what's happening, and myself, I'm in it, which I'm so happy to be in it.
You are. I'm glad you are, too.
Thank you. I remember going down to this, it was really just an empty apartment. Or it was somebody's apartment, and they had it lighted well in a nice chair and, sat there and just talked, not to the camera, but, just off the camera. About you. And I mean, that's what all the guys did. That's what, Fetterman did, and Danny Gould and Henry Rollins, Kevin Pollak. You forgot to mention Kevin.
Oh, God, Kevin's the best. He did an interview with me on his Kevin Pollak chat show. That was so much fun.
Oh, good. Oh, I bet. Yeah. And so all those guys are coming on. And the reason why they're coming on is because they have something to say about how they found you, how they fell in love with you, and how your mind is, I'm just for this show, I'm not saying in every category of life, but for the shows that you do, you really have gone beyond what anybody else could have ever thought of. It's really so bright.
I guess it came about when I got this gig in Ventura, and I knew I was doing character voices, and I wanted to introduce different characters in this sort of a radio play every day. But I listened one day to an interview being done by a host on KBC, and he was reading this interview that was done with Saddam Hussein. And when he read Saddam Hussein's part, he put a filter on his voice. So he's like, and when did you invade Kuwait? I invaded Kuwait.
And all he did was put a screen or something in front of him.
Yeah, a little bit of a filter. And it wasn't done for comedic effect. It was just to kind of differentiate between himself and the guy. And I thought, oh, wow, I could be Saddam Hussein and I could interview him. Well, that wouldn't be realistic. I know what I'll do is I'll interview a guy who has sympathy for Saddam Hussein. In fact, I think I'll just come on the air as that guy and say that Phil Hendrie is on vacation, and today, because this was during Desert Shield, the build up to Desert Storm, the Gulf War. And today, Phil Hendrie he's on vacation, but I want to tell you that Saddam Hussein, a lot of you people have got him all wrong, he's a good man, and my producer was a guy named Greg Glasser, who was in the other studios, a young man, and he looked at me and he's waving his arm and he's saying, we're getting phone calls. I said, for who? For the Iraqi. I said, well, put him through. Let's see what happens.
It almost sounds like, Howard Stern's Private Parts, the way it came about and the way Howard started taking these calls and the strippers and everything he started off with. It was all very new at the time and just kind of fell into it. And then
it evolves,
It evolves, and then your commitment to it is just outrageous. And I don't know how you don't start laughing at some of these points.
I laughed a lot, and especially when I finally got to KFI, Christine. I went from Ventura, went to Atlanta, I went to Minneapolis, went to Miami. Then I got my job, came to KFI, and I had an engineer named Mike Crozier, who's still there. Mike is a newsman at KFI now. And he had a whiteboard, so he would write things down on this whiteboard, and I would die at some of the stuff he would write. And you hear us laughing more than once, especially on some of the best of CDs we did, where Mike has this high-pitched cackle.
Yeah.
And you'd hear this, and there's me laughing.
That's fantastic. In other words, that whiteboard should say things like 2 more spots or how many times you said the call letters and stuff like that.
I'll give an example, and this is how we used to set things up. This was the character that day. We were doing a character named Vernon Dozier, and Phil, I was driving home from work, and I saw a police officer had pulled over a motorist, and I decided that I would swing in behind her car, and I would help with the investigation. I said, well, why? You're not a cop. No, but it was a female police officer. Okay, so right away, you're pissing people off. It was a female police officer, and I felt that she would need some help. And so I went in. I have a magnifying glass in my glove box. If you imagine this guy thinks he's what, Sherlock Holmes with a magnifying glass?
He's going over with a little notepad, right?
So he's looking at the scene with his little magnifying glass. So finally, this female officer says, "Get the hell out of here! Get in your car!" So she kicked me off the scene. So I was just there with a magnifying glass. And I wound up, and Mike writes on the board, burning bugs, meaning he took the sunlight, was burning bugs.
Yeah, with the magnifying glass.
That put me away. We started laughing our asses off.
You lost it, yeah.
We lost it for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. It's just, and I couldn't even get the words out. It's just, and I'm back there, and I'm, burr, and next thing you know, we're cracking up.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah. And what prompts the calls for a bit like that, as you probably already figured out, is this guy thinks he's doing a public service by helping a female officer because, after all, she's a female.
She's female. How could she do it by herself?
Right. And this guy thinks he's doing great. And these people are calling in outraged and pissed off. Right. And how dare you? You're not a cop. She's a cop. She knows what to do. Oh, and that's what you want.
Right. Of course.
You have to get that really. Yeah, that organic.
And so the tables are turned, and the people are calling in because they think it's true. They believe it, and they're freaking out. Like, what is this world coming to? But then, because it is a kind of a layered humor, and there's different levels to laughing, the FTC in many ways, or the FCC, excuse me. What's the FTC? I think that's something about
Federal Trade Commission.
The FCC,
Federal Election Commission,
starts cracking down on radio so much that one of your characters, Ted, who owns Ted's of Beverly Hills Steakhouse, they didn't want you singing the jingle. We want to put our meat in your mouth. They didn't want you singing that jingle. So tell us what you changed it to.
Well, I mean, that was when Janet Jackson had that wardrobe malfunction during the Super Bowl. If you recall, her breasts became exposed. And rather than bust down on CBS for that, the FCC didn't have the guts for that. They decided they'd start hassling radio. Out of the blue, after that Super Bowl, they called all these general managers and program directors back to Washington, D.C. to read them the riot act on what you should do. We didn't do that, man. We'd have Janet Jackson on. That kind of thing used to always make me angry. But anyway, Craig Kitchen, wonderful man, came back and said, let's have lunch. So I sat down with lunch. He said, Phil, we just had this thing with this FCC. We want to make sure that we don't get any fines for our stations. So, the jingle, we want to put our meat in your mouth. Yeah, you need to beep that out. You need to beep it out. So I said, and I gave him pushback on it, but what am I going to do? Yeah. So I did. And rather than, a lot of people would beep out, we want to put our beep in your mouth. We beeped out mouth. So we want to put our meat in your beep.
Which is much worse.
Much worse, and in fact made it funnier, so.
I mean, just ridiculous. And then a lot of your characters really become so real to us as the audience. Bobby Dooley, we think there really is a Western Estates. And then you have merch for all these different characters. So there's like this guy in the documentary who's just like a mega fan, and he's collected.
Jeff Baker.
Is that his name?
Jeff Baker, yeah.
Collected all this different merch that you've offered. And, it's just so neat when people are so on board, isn't it?
It's great. And you realize, what have I done? What have I created here? What is this? Honest to God, I would do personal appearances at KFI, and people would show up dressed as Citizens Auxiliary police officers. I mean, seriously, or they dressed in what they thought Bobby Dooley looked like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bobby Dooley was based on my mother, and for people who don't know her, she has a very monotone voice like this. Mm-hmm. And she does a lot of that dismissive.
Very condescending.
condescending. And Bobby, one of the best bits we did with Bobby, forgive me, it's a little crude, but I noticed one day my girlfriend at the time had her nails up in the air. She had just gotten done doing them, and she was drying them like you guys do,
right.
Some of you guys. And I thought that was kind of funny. And naturally, my mind went to, well, how do you wipe your ass? I mean, I don't understand.
Right.
So we had Bobby one day. Well, I just had my nails done, Phil. So naturally, I asked, Amparo is the lady that cleans our house. Would you ask her? Well, someone has to.
Oh, my God.
Someone's going to wipe her ass.
Steve pipes up. Oh, my God.
So she pays Amparo extra to wipe her ass while her freaking nails are drying.
Right.
And that also would just had the phone calls coming in. Now, the outrage that you would treat a person like that. And I don't care how much you pay her. How dare you, this and that.
And then with your own voice, you jump in, almost, as the host, as the go-between between the caller and the crazy person. And they taught you guys, not you, but some of the talent like Bill Hader and Dana and Judd, they talk about how they always thought you were actually somehow layering your voice, like talking over yourself. Because you go so fast. And people really marvel at that talent. I don't know of anybody else really doing that, because if you are doing, like, say, an animated project, everybody is a different character. They don't cast you as Bugs Bunny and the Coyote. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
They cast you as one or the other, or like The Simpsons. I mean, some of them do double characters, but not so quickly. So I enjoyed how they not only talked about it, but then they show you, of course, in the studio. And it really gives everybody even a better idea of how you're doing it.
That's the cool thing about the doc. It shows, and it also has Henry Rollins, bless his heart, explains how it's done. He says that what Phil does is he used some words that I don't even know. I mean, he used some big words there.
So cool.
Yeah, essentially, because I believe that reality is the funniest thing that there is, I always wanted to maintain a real level of heightened reality. So how do people talk? People don't go, hi, Christine, how are you? Breath, oh, I'm fine, Phil. We go, hey, Christine, wait a minute. Are you? I'm just talking to Christine. Anyway, how are you doing? So there's all of that kind of
stutter-stepping.
And what I did is I learned how to take breaths in the right place. I learned how to move the phone away for ambient change. So it sounded almost like there might be a different person there. Yeah. Like Steve, Steve, what do you, baby, I would move the phone away so that Steve's in the background and he sounds decidedly different,
But is the phone actually making a difference in your voice? No.
Doesn't make a difference in the voice, but you'd be surprised at how we perceive in our minds the way someone sounds when the ambient, that is the surrounding sound changes.
Right.
So I could have Christine, you could be using your voice right now, and then we could put the mic further away and have you just alter your voice slightly, and you'd sound like two completely different people.
It's truly unbelievable when you get into that kind of sound, like your whole flipping head could explode. Sometimes if I'm watching like an award show like the Oscars, the people who don't get microphones, they lean in real close to the mic, and I want to scream, don't move.
You don't need to.
I'll follow you, because people don't realize how incredibly sensitive and, technical this stuff has become.
Those mics are, and they should know, because those people work on sets where lavalier mics are now used. They used to have boom mics, and now they have mic use. So anyway, it was that, and that's what I kind of just by instinct, Christine, as I wanted to do this, I want to make the comedy work. So you teach yourself to do certain things. Oh, this is funnier. This is funny.
Yeah.
This is more realistic.
Yeah, that's great.
And then I had phone loops, I would run in the background. One was of just a mall. You could hear kids crying and, music playing.
Did you tape it yourself?
No, my engineer at the time, Ralph did, and Craig Taylor did. They would bring these loops in. Or the sound of a car driving down the road. What would a cell phone sound like? The sound of just background noise at a restaurant. That's one of our favorite.
All that stuff. Yeah. Yeah. There's a site that I go to and use sometimes. I think it's called freesound.org or something.
Awesome.
Get any sound you want. And, you want like an airport in Berlin, you can get that airport.
Got it, man. Yeah.
Or if you want, an airport in Dallas, you can get that airport. Like, it's so specific.
Yeah, it is the Dallas airport. Well, I go to YouTube and I just write in royalty free because I want to make sure.
Of course.
Royalty free sound effect airport. Man, they got a million of them.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of it. Okay, so real quick before we go further, I want to tell you that when you were married, when you were raising kids and doing the domestic thing, your show was still very entertaining. And one segment you did all the time was what I bought at Trader Joe's this week.
Really? I don't remember that.
And you would talk about your groceries. You would just talk about, I went out and I, went shopping and here's what I bought. And it was just so funny because Trader Joe's has, a lot of items like for one person or for two people. Yeah. Bachelor bread. I think they call it like a bachelor loaf or something. And you would do this list and I would laugh so hard. And I would often think like, oh, I'm going to try that. I'm going to get that. You
get that, yeah.
You go through the prices.
Yeah, I don't know. That dawned on me one day. I was in the pantry, in the kitchen, looking in the pantry and looking at all this stuff. And this is interesting, peanut butter. And, the other thing I like to get. And I also realized something that when I bought something and I used it, I was much better at pitching it. And I kind of told my sales people there at Premiere, here's what I use. Why don't you guys go out and try to find these advertisers and
That's interesting. Yeah.
Have them buy time on the show because you can really do an authentic pitch for something when you actually use it.
Yeah. I've gotten a lot of different, stuff from advertisers, but the things I've really liked the most have been Bose headsets.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. I did a pitch for Bose and they sent me 2 sets of these really cool wireless headsets, awesome. Which are fantastic. But yeah, the other thing I think I've advertised for sheets, like really high end sheets.
Yeah. I have an advertiser now called Miracle and they send me sheets.
Oh, they send you sheets?
For the bed, yeah.
It's a good one.
And these are treated in such a way, they were developed using the same process that NASA uses with blankets they send into outer space. They keep you warm when it's cold, and they cool you off when it's too warm. It's goofy.
That sounds perfect. That sounds perfect.
But the other thing I got that was, well, I shouldn't say because it's kind of personal, but it's underwear developed by an Iraqi soldier who came back to the States. It got a little too hot over there. Let's put it that way.
Interesting.
And he found a way of designing underwear for men that would sort of separate things and let the air circulate.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Called sheath underwear. And this guy was with me for a year because I pitched it so well.
Wow. That's great.
So, yeah.
Well, as long as we're talking about underwear, I have a pitch for underwear that I'm dying to share with Victoria's Secret or really anybody who will listen. And that is for the women out there who have had C-sections like myself. When you have a C-section, have you been with a woman who's had a C-section?
Sure, she has a scar.
The scar, right. Yeah. Well, I don't know what the girls you've been with, their scar looks like, but my scar, it's not so much the scar, but it traps a pouch of fat right below it. And this sounds extremely gross, I know. And there's nothing I can do. It's not like you can work out a pouch of fat. It's stuck in there, right? So, but listen, so then you get Spanx. Well, sure. And then you get the underwear that are compression. Okay, sure. But no matter. And I'm a comedian and I'm looking at my pictures that somebody's taken or whatever. And I'm like, fuck, what is that lump in my pants?
There's a pouch of fat.
And it's super low down. It's super low down by my legs. So it's not like my stomach. It's like, so wait, now I got it. So now I'm wearing the tight, I'm wearing like the binding.
Yeah.
I have on Spanx. And you know what I've had to resort to? And this is the pitch. Ready?
Yeah, sure.
Get rid of your unsightly fatty pouch from your C-section.
Oh, that's cool.
Now what you do is you take this piece of cardboard, just like the back of a postcard, and you just shove it down your pants, man. And sure,
and that's how you do it, man.
Sure, the corners will hurt you a little, but go ahead. Cut off the corners of your rectangular postcard, make it an oval, and then you shove it down your pants. Here's another tip. Have 3 or 4 backups, because what's going to happen is you're going to go to the bathroom and you're going to keep peeing on your cardboard.
On your cardboard. It's going to get
so my pitch is Victoria's Secret cardboard inserts for ladies with that fatty pouch.
A little pouch from C-section.
And you know who you are.
I suppose you could solve that with surgery, though. Couldn't you go back in with some kind of a cosmetic surgery?
You can. That is correct, sir. That's called plastic surgery. And, although I've done my eyes, nose, mouth, and everything else, but that's not the point. The point is, I don't want to spend another $8,000 for a fatty pouch.
Right on. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking to Phil Hendrie about the new documentary that you can watch right now on Apple TV and Amazon.
Apple TV, yeah.
Yep.
Sling TV has it. We just got in fact, I just got sent to me today by our public relations guy, Eric. He said, here is what you should announce, cool. Is the way he put it. Where is this thing? Eric said, promo language. Hendrie is now available to rent or own on all cable, satellite, and digital platforms, including Amazon
there you go.
And Apple TV.
And to rent, it was like $3.99. I mean, it was very, very inexpensive.
I rented, the first time I rented it was $5.99 on Sling. What the hell, man?
I was on Apple. Hey, I want to talk about the music in the documentary. Now, I'm imagining you don't have anything to do with it.
No. I had nothing to do with the production of that film at all.
I'm telling you, Patrick did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
The music, and there's a big list of the musicians that they use. And there's only like one or two guys that have been repeated, like this guy, James Paul Mitchell.
Wow.
He was repeated a few times. But other than that, it's a lot of individual artists. And I think the music is just wonderful. I love it.
It is. It's kind of low key. It's low key.
It's background.
It's background.
But it's like meaningful.
Yeah.
It puts you, because a lot of the film, I mean, yes, there's a lot of levity to it. And everybody talks about how much they love you and they're inspired by you. But then, like I said earlier, there's this moment when you're like, oh, shit, I don't even want to be on terrestrial radio anymore. And you are now not on terrestrial radio, and you open up in another entire world of shows called The World of Phil Hendrie. And you have an extensively huge website that's just fantastic, whoever does your website. And you're able to access thousands of your back catalog.
Shane Martin. Really, Shane's my
right?
guy. Shane just redesigned it again. Shane's been with me since 2016. He's phenomenal. He's with his company. His company is called Lean Mean Creative Machine, and they're in Venice, California. And they're great. And Shane's gets it.
Well, they do a really good job, and you have a community that's just really tight with you. Yeah. You've got these repeat, fans that you've made over the years, so it's pretty tight.
Yeah, and we've kept the price down too. The subscriptions like less than 10. I really believe in that. I don't believe in just jacking prices every. Look at here's how much it costs. This is what it is, and the archive gets bigger because there's other ways of making. That's not my sole source of income.
Right, so, of course.
And I want people to be able to enjoy it.
Yeah, of course. I also want to ask you about. There's so many overhead shots that they got of your little town there up in the Channel Islands. It's in Ventura, I would say, right?
Yeah. Channel Islands Beach is surrounded by Oxnard, Ventura, and Port Hueneme.
That's right. Yeah. Port Hueneme is a naval base, right?
Well, Port Hueneme is a town that has a naval base there. And if you ever saw the movie There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis, he's talking to the little boy at one point. He says, "We'll build a pipeline to Port Hueneme. That's what we'll do." That's right. So that was the early days of oil in California, which I think was a fascinating film. But Port Hueneme the port is right behind my house here. It's a commercial port. And then there's Channel Islands Harbor, which is basically the city of Oxnard, and then Ventura Harbor, which is just north of that. And so there's a whole little thing happening here, man. And like Dana and I were talking, Dana Gould, he says, Ventura used to be the place you stopped to get gas when you went to Santa Barbara. Right. I said, yeah. Right. Now it's like a destination for a lot of people.
Very much so. A total vacation spot for sure.
And they did a thing downtown. One thing the pandemic did, in my opinion, that was phenomenal, is it pushed all the restaurants out onto the street. Yeah. So you now had all this, is that called al fresco dining?
Al fresco, yeah.
Everything is al fresco now, and the main street of Ventura has been turned over to pedestrians.
I love that.
And it's phenomenal. It's fantastic.
Santa Barbara as well. They took all the cars off of Main Street.
And now it's all restaurants.
Santa Barbara. Yeah. It's just like spring break Fort Lauderdale every day. No, okay.
Somebody said something, though, that I thought made sense, and I felt bad. They said the only thing that's bad is that people who are disabled, it's hard for them to get around. I'm thinking, maybe somewhere along the line they can get little transports for them or something. I don't know.
Could you hear the caller that would call in and say, well, that's too bad. That's their problem. They should have thought of that before they got hurt.
I don't know about people like that. I mean, I know what they are, and I know why they are, and I know how they're made.
I mean, you as a radio host, as you
sure,
as that person, you could easily.
You just wrote a bit for me.
Yeah, Christy. That's a bit and a heart. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, it's very bad, Phil, and all those things that I'll say that will make everybody like me. But let's get right down to it. We've got money to make here, and if someone is on a crutch, I apologize for that. Well, don't you care about them? I care about making a living, okay? I got kids, I got a wife.
It's the almighty dollar, Phil. Yeah, the almighty dollar.
Yeah. But what about the guy that can't get, he's in a wheelchair? So you hire a guy to push you. I don't know what you want me to tell you, man.
What does he do when he's anywhere else? I mean, if he moves, then he moves.
He moves. I know a guy. He works out. He pushes those wheels himself. He's got big arms. Yeah, you can lift weights.
Have you heard of a tuk-tuk?
Tuk-tuk. What's that?
In Thailand, it's like that
Oh, it's like a rickshaw thing.
Rickshaw. Yeah. There's another word. That's very funny. So you guys can head over to philhendrieshow.com. That's where the world exists. philhendrieshow.com. And again, the documentary. Oh, I was saying about the Channel Islands. The light is so beautiful there.
It is, yeah. It's cool.
So
and
the filmmakers really took advantage of these great shots of the town, of the beaches, and of you driving that convertible. Very cool.
Yeah, that is up in what's called Mandalay Shores. And it's a really kooky, goofy thing because I grew up in California and I know what the beach looks like and I know what the houses look like.
Yeah.
I was in New Orleans for a period of my life and I saw houses on stilts for the very first time. And I realized, people told me the flooding. Okay, go to Mandalay Shores and you see houses on stilts. And I'm like, what?
Are they near the beach?
Well, they are not, but apparently the beach there is so level that they do get some shoreline flooding.
Wow.
So much so that the houses are built on stilts, wow. And you don't want that, man. I mean, I live really close to the sand here, and it has started to rain, by the way. Christine and I were talking about whatever is coming. But now, after everybody saw the Fukushima tsunami, you just think, oh, God, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And when that happened, I had people calling me. Fukushima, it was heading toward the West Coast.
Yeah, I remember.
And people were calling me and saying, Phil, I think you bought it. You need to get out. I said, I'm going to wait and see what happens to Hawaii.
Wow,
And I did. And that night it hit Hawaii. Hawaii had 8-foot swells and it did some damage to their ports, but otherwise everything was cool.
Boy, that's so interesting. Yeah, because when it hits, when an earthquake happens in the South Pacific, then it affects all the coasts all over the place, everywhere. North, south, east, west. You got tsunami problems. Sometimes when I'm going to sleep at night, of course, I'll scroll Twitter or I'll listen to you. But sometimes I just like to watch tsunami disaster stuff on YouTube because it's just like
such a relaxing thing to do.
Well, no, but I mean, just because it's like that's so slow moving, they see the water go out and then it starts coming in and they're still waving to the camera. And it's like, no, behind you.
Behind you. Yeah.
Run. And, especially the one that hit, not Kuala Lumpur.
Oh, yeah, but the Thailand one. I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, the Thailand one.
Yeah.
Not Phuket, but somewhere down there.
Right.
That area, that whole little there's a big ring of little islands. And that one, I mean,
people were having drinks in a poolside bar, and suddenly there's like flood water surrounding them.
But it never stopped coming, and it killed over 200,000 people. One tsunami. A lot of fun to watch. 200. That's what I'm saying. 200,000 people were wiped out in that Thailand tsunami. Oh, now you're going to watch it. It's fun, man.
It's fun. 200,000 people are dead, Phil. It's a lot of fun.
Interesting.
Well, that speaks to the infrastructure, in my opinion. When you hear about thousands and thousands of people dying, often it's because there's nowhere for them to run to hide. There's no structure that supports protection for them.
Right.
China, I'm sorry to say this, but there's a lot of old structures over there. When they get an earthquake, they collapse on top of people.
Sure.
Here in America, everything is relatively new.
I know.
And, we're sort of saved that way. But
I have a bit I do in stand up about, that I don't believe in earthquake kits. Like, I just don't believe in them because people have like 55-pound earthquake kits put together. Like, they have like camping stoves and beans. Like, if an earthquake was so bad that you're out on your street cooking beans on a small stove, you have so many bigger problems. It's not even funny.
I know.
Like, if that's what would happen, at the bottom line is all you need in an earthquake is the dollar. That's all you need is cash, because you can buy what you need.
You do.
You don't even need water. You'll get there. You'll buy it. You'll pay for it.
Yeah.
But what if an earthquake happens when you run out to Trader Joe's? So people presuppose that they won't be in their car. I mean, why do you think you're going to be in your bed with an earthquake kit under it? Why do you think that?
Exactly. I don't even know what it's like to have. Actually, I did. I walked outside one day. An earthquake had struck, and I walked outside to feel what it was like outside, just to see. And it wasn't. All I saw were my neighbors running around in their houses. But
it would just have to be extreme force for it to hit us the way they happen in other countries like Nepal or, like you said, China. It's just a different world.
I was talking to Pat Reynolds, the director of the documentary, on the phone one day. About 3 weeks ago, we had an earthquake that epicentered in Thousand Oaks, and I'm about, 20 miles from Thousand Oaks. And I have the actual transcript because I was doing voice to text as I was texting to Pat. And I don't know, am I allowed to use 4-letter words here?
Yeah, of course you are.
I will read to you exactly what, and Pat saved this too, because we both laugh over it now.
Sure.
I will read to you exactly what I said as that earthquake hit, and how I talked as the earthquake hit, and then what I sounded like after the earthquake passed. I got to find this, though. I'm awfully sorry.
That's funny.
But it was pretty freaking funny, man. Hold on. Hey, Pat, I just had surgery on my rotator cuff and it ain't fun. However, by the 26th, I will be ready. I'll be cool and we should hook up for lunch or drinks. Given the state of my arm and shoulder, oh, fuck. Oh, we got an earthquake. We got an earthquake right now. We got a fucking earthquake right now. I still got an aftershock. How about that earthquake, man? Anyway, 26 sounds good for lunch, man. Give me a call.
That's hilarious. And I've been in a restaurant in LA when an earthquake is hit. And all of a sudden, you look outside, you see the big palm trees swaying, and everybody stops, like dead stop. It gets very quiet, but only for about 3 seconds. And then it goes right back.
Goes right back to talking. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was on the air way back for K West Radio. I was in my late 20s, and it was New Year's Day. And I was hungover, and I thought I was hungover and I was kind of shaky on my feet.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I decided, I think I'll look at those hanging palm. We had those little hanging plants in those days.
Sure.
And they were doing one of those. I mean, no, that's an earthquake, Jack,
Yeah, that's how you know.
The Rose Bowl game was on at the time. And they even said, here we've had an earthquake here at the Rose Bowl. Anyway.
That's neat. Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question. We're going to wrap it up. You guys don't forget to head over to philhendrieshow.com. And here's the question. Why does the ending of the documentary make me like weepy?
Everybody says that. My friend Whitney Allen said she got sad. And the great legendary singer Jeanette Napolitano from Concrete Blonde watched it. And she said she cried too. I don't know.
Okay. Can I tell you my guess?
Okay.
I don't think, first of all, anybody's sad. I don't think it's that. I think because you are showing your authentic self and it's so real, like it's just so gritty. You're just a dude trying to make your way through the radio world with your art. And you are kind of smarter than a lot of other people, and you came up with this idea that makes people laugh so hard. I mean, it's just crazy. And you have done very well, but people want to see you even further along. Like people, I think some people want you like to be an idol, like a Larry King or something. I mean, not journalism, but just in the popularity of that radio host or Howard Stern.
You know, I'll tell you, Christine.
Like how did an asshole like Imus get? How did he do it? Like what? That is like the stupidest radio.
When I was coming up, everybody that I admired was a beatnik. They were underground. They were off the radar. They were the Paul Sartres. They were Albert Camus. Everybody talks about Albert Camus, but he wasn't exactly top of mind bestseller author. I love those people, and I just instinctively kept burrowing underground in the way that I did my thing, because maybe it kept me off the radar. Maybe I was able to do it. Maybe I just thought it was hipper and cooler. And I think this is kind of the result of that, where I want my stuff to be respected so much. I don't want it to look like some kind of a magazine cover or something that's just cheaply made. I think it's my fault. Basically is what I'm saying.
Well, no, but there's this artist in you. You have ideas and you make them happen. You finish projects, things get made, and you keep moving forward. And the people that are like in the know are way in the know about you, about your show, about the whole thing. And you've done acting on television as well. So it's not just the radio. But I don't know. At the end of it, I don't think anybody's really sad. It's just like, wow, what a career. Wow.
It makes me sad. He's had such a career. I'm crying.
Well, no, but you've had such success and, you've done so well and the talent is still there. This is going to do a lot for you. I think this is even going to bring more listeners to the world of Phil Hendrie.
I mean, at this point in my life, I can look back and say that I, did what I wanted to do, and there's more to do. And, I thought I'd be in radio for the rest of my life. Guess what? I'm not. Why? Because radio kind of imploded. Well, that tells me something. You have other stuff to do, Phil. And frankly, a visual on-camera, on-stage performer was something that I always thought was kind of wimpy. I didn't want to be I didn't want to be a TV actor. I thought it was, pardon me for saying this, I thought it was I didn't think it was very manly.
Wow. Funny.
I thought being a disc jockey was the coolest thing. But I realize now that whatever art I had as doing what I did on radio needs to be transported to a visual medium like acting and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like life has pushed me in that direction. So that's where I'm going to go,
You were on Modern Family. You did a great job on that show.
I'm learning. I mean, God almighty, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know what the script was supposed to be about.
Really?
I had no idea what I was doing. But
didn't you have pages?
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't know what I can't even begin to tell you. I was so in awe of just being on that set with all of those great people.
That's just so cool.
Okay, Phil, you talk now. Oh, okay.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure those actors were so thrilled to have you. I'm sure
everybody's always been
very
really
helpful.
Cool.
Yeah.
I just did Grey's Anatomy. I like Grey's Anatomy because I knew a little bit more of what it is I'm doing. And Donna Pescow is in that show, and everybody loves her from. Is that my phone ringing? It's my girlfriend.
Ooh.
Hang up.
Is she in Florida?
She's in Florida. Hold on.
When is she coming?
I don't know. I can't accept it. I'm going to have to decline it. I can't even decline it. Oh, here.
You can answer it.
I did. Hey, honey.
Yeah.
There's Christine.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
That's Christine. That's Jackie and
Hi,
Christine.
Jackie.
Yeah, that's great. We're almost done, honey, and I'll call you. It's totally cool. When you're old. Oh, we're almost done. We're almost done, baby. I'll call you when we're done, okay? Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Isn't it amazing how we FaceTime and Zoom and all these things, and it's just second nature now. You don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is unbelievable.
It's like the old science fiction movies would tell us it was going to be like that. You know,
the Jetsons. The Jetsons. That's what they showed you on the phone.
We have our TV phone. Yeah, the only thing we're not doing is flying through the air, which everybody is really upset about. But I think it's great myself that we're not flying cars,
You guys, you have to check out the documentary. It's a full-length documentary about you, Phil Hendrie, directed again by Patrick Reynolds. And I think he did just a wonderful job, and produced by Jordan Brady and Patrick. And I just think they did a great job. So fun to see all those incredible actors.
Oh,
and
man.
They all look good. They're all so happy to be there. It's very cool.
That's the part that Rick Overton, funny guy.
Oh, yeah, Rick.
In there. Yeah.
Yeah, and like we said, Bill Hader, Judd Apatow, Kevin Pollak, Henry Rollins, which is crazy.
Everybody, yeah.
Dana, super fun.
Yeah, so it's really humbling and cool to do, man. Yeah.
You guys check out philhendrieshow.com. And here on your website, Phil, I don't see the movie on the website. You're going to have to call your webmaster.
We're going to have to somehow link it. Yeah, and I will do that.
Sure.
I'll give them a call.
But you guys, again, can find it, of course, on Amazon and on Apple as well. So check it out. It's really great. You'll see me, too. Hooray.
Yeah, Christine's there.
You guys, thank you again so much for tuning in. I sure appreciate it. As you know, the listeners are what keeps Storyworthy going. This is my 14th year podcasting. I've made hundreds of dollars, and I'm here for it. So thank you again so much for tuning in. Don't forget to check out StoryworthyPodcast.com. And on behalf of the very talented, legendary radio broadcaster Phil Hendrie, thank you.
Peace. Bye.
My name is Christine Blackburn, saying, make it a Storyworthy week.
Thanks for joining us on the Storyworthy Podcast. We'll be back next week with all new stories. Subscribe to Storyworthy on iTunes and visit the Storyworthy website at storyworthypodcast.com.